Now that we've gotten all the prep done on the wall, which is putting on the anchor primer and putting on our base coat of Piatto tinted to this medium color gray, we're now going to do the decorative finish application, which we're going to use the base gray again, and then we're also going to use a highlight, which is an untinted Piatto, which will be the white areas, and then a darker, which is double the tint in the Piatto for the dark areas. So getting the hawks ready, the nice thing about having these hawks that sit on the scaffolding is that I've got my dark and my light area. And again, here's the Bondo blade, which is my favorite tool. Cut it in half, because you can cut them into little tiny pieces to get between windows and corners, or you can just have small pieces to just spread out your product and keep it manageable on your hawk. And then we have the main color here, the base, that we'll cover most of the wall with. So before we actually begin to put this finish coat on, I run my hands over and we like to feel it, make sure that there's no high areas, because we'll knock them and then we'll end up getting hitchhikers. You'll get the hitchhikers and they will create the scratch marks in your plaster. So you end up doing this all over your wall. And we actually are using the finishing trowel, because we're going to be compressing it and doing the burnishing while we go along. But this one helps lay the product into this first coat a little bit tighter. What I usually do with my trowel is, when we're starting on the edges, is you can really use the nose of your trowel to get into these areas. So first what we're doing is we're creating kind of an arc here so that we can create the diagonal process of covering the wall. In this application, we're going to leave some small pocs. I'll probably have them a little bit more compositionally along the edges and kind of coming in, because up at the top, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more of the dark, which would be sort of a natural patina that would happen. You'd get a little bit more aging along the top and along the bottom. We're going to get a little bit more of the base coat on, and then we'll add in the dark and light. When I'm loading my trowel for the light and darks, I pounce it so it gets sort of this peak on there. So when we're doing it, we're able to have it be a little bit more organic rather than solid coverage. And then I tend to have more of the whites around the pocs. And I have the patina, like if the water were to come down, it comes down and it spreads out, and then it fills itself, and then it drips down more. So we've got the sideway motion to show that. And then we do the final pull down. It has more of it. Then we'll go back to putting our base on. And I try and not overload my trowel so that I've got smaller spaces and I can keep them more of an organic look. You also want to watch your pocs, make sure that they're all different sizes and different shapes so that it doesn't look like you have a whole bunch of, it kind of starts to look like birch tree bark. I'm going to come back with our lights and darks. And again, I like to keep kind of the darks out sort of more towards the edges and have lighter versions of it on the inside of the body. And you really want to just hit it 1, 2, 3, 4 times maybe, and be consistently inconsistent so that some of it gets mushed in a lot and some of it sits right on top. And this is as I kind of finish an area, move on to the next area, and I'm finished with the second area, I go back in, and this is where the burnishing and the compression happen. As you're going along and doing the wall, you can also come back at the completion and burnish it more, but I kind of like to do it as I go along just to kind of make it have that super smooth finish. If you'll notice this finish, how it's sitting really nice and smooth up here, and you can see that this is the first coat and how it's orange peely. This is one of the characteristics of this product that I love, is you can go over walls that are not so nice and make them look really nice. You'll also see that when we do just the solid coverage, but it just starts to lay into itself and have a really nice smooth finish, which flat wall finish to me is kind of the premium look as opposed to an orange peel. So then, it's always important as well to, if you can get off your scaffolding, to kind of get 4 feet back and look at it and see how your flow of your lights and darks are going. So I like that the white is kind of pulling you down this way. I think what I'll do is have it sort of pull down, and then we'll do another little drift of white here, but we'll kind of keep this coming down here as well. And then the dark fills in the other areas. On this the base color again, you want to kind of keep it thick and thin and have it be, generously applied so that the light and the dark have something to mush into. And again, we'll think about the composition. I think we're going to have the white end there, and then we'll have more of the white come over to this side, and this side will be darker, so it's kind of going back and forth. Keep it in a little tighter. So then we finished our little 2 sections, so we're going to go back and burnish. And compress. Again, if the product starts to move, it might be might not be set up enough. There's a coolness when you touch it. I don't have to use this. On your arm, if you can feel it, if it still sticks to you, it's not ready. It looks like it has sort of a float of a liquid on top. So you're putting a fair bit of pressure on it after your trowel lands, just to compress it. I tend to not be one who likes chatter marks, which are what happens when your trowel is hitting high points. So I try and compress those out. So this part, when you're doing your edges, it's really easy to use the same movement to get it right down into along top of the baseboard, which is fine. You just want to make sure when you're done that you have different movement coming out of it. Otherwise, you can end up with the base and your top just looking like it's got straight lines coming out of it. We'll start to compress it and burnish it. And there you have it, and in a couple of hours it'll be nice and dry and you can feel it. If you want to, you can always go back and start to compress it again just to make sure, but at this point you could also be just fine having it be a nice smooth finish. The more you burnish it, the more it's going to get sheen. So if you like that really matte finish, then this is a good time to just leave it to make, but also make sure that you've hit every point or every surface of it so it has that nice smooth kind of finish.